tonight. The U.S. is moving out, pulling armed forces from war-torn Syria, then leaving Turkey to fill the void.
And
the whistleblower never saw the conversation.
As a second whistleblower prepares to come forward,
I would be acting as a juror.
Cracks are starting to appear in the president's Republican wall of support.
Plus,
the court could use that to overturn Roe v. Wade.
What's in store for the Supreme Court as the justices begin a new term?
And a prophecy fulfilled.
Mr. Secretary, you are about to realize a prophecy spoken about your life. How does that feel?
All this and more on Faith Nation.
And welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. Tonight, a major bombshell marks a major shift in Middle East policy. President Trump removing U.S. forces from northern Syria, despite reported pushback from some of his advisors.
The surprise move follows threats from Turkey to invade the region in the wake of the American void. CBN national security correspondent Eric Phillips has tonight's top story.
The president has been getting backlash on almost every hand over this decision, but he maintains it's time for America to get out of what he calls endless wars. And Trump adds he would move to obliterate Turkey's economy if the country does anything he considers off limits. Monday, U.S. flagged military vehicles could be seen leaving the Syria-Turkey border. It came just hours after the White House released this statement saying, in part, the United States forces, having defeated the ISIS territorial caliphate, will no longer be in the immediate area. All of this following a Sunday phone call between President Trump and Turkish President Erdogan. Since then, a flurry of presidential tweets defending his decision that many say paves the way for Turkey to invade northern Syria. Trump tweeting, "It is time for us to get out of these ridiculous, endless wars, many of them tribal, and bring our soldiers home." Even some of the president's most loyal supporters speaking out against this move that puts the Kurds who partnered with U.S. troops at major risk, like Senator Lindsey Graham this morning.
This is a big win for Iran and Assad, a big win for ISIS.
Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, a Trump appointee, tweeting, "We must always have the backs of our allies if we expect them to have our back. Leaving them to die is a big mistake."
We are most unfortunately abandoning our friends in the Syrian opposition.
Benham Ben Taleblu is with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies.
I think the U.S. is going to be creating a vacuum with this withdrawal. I think Turkey is going to get more involved. And I think Iran and its proxies and partners is going to become more emboldened. And that is a recipe for disaster right on Israel's doorstep.
Senator Rand Paul has offered a lone voice of support for the president's decision. A Turkish invasion would endanger the lives of thousands of Christians in northern Syria, something Pat Robertson addressed on Monday's 700 Club.
The President of the United States is in danger of losing the mandate of heaven if he permits this to happen.
Still, many are hoping the president will do what he has in the past and change his mind about withdrawing troops from Syria, but that's not looking likely. The other wild card, what will happen with ISIS detainees in the region? On Monday, ISIS leader Abu al-Baghdadi called on followers to strike where they can, storm prisons, and spark a resurgence of ISIS. Meanwhile, the president has been frustrated with European nations who will not reclaim their ISIS fighters who were captured during the war. Eric Phillips, CBN News, Washington.
Thank you, Eric. CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody, joins us now to discuss. David, it's not just military and White House advisors. It's also a lot of Christian leaders, as we just saw in that piece. Pat Robertson and Governor Huckabee are speaking out against this.
They are, and more will follow. A lot of them are quiet right now. They want to let this percolate a little bit, but I've been talking to my sources behind the scenes. Here are the two words that come to mind, or I shouldn't say come to mind. They're actually telling me surprised that the Trump administration would do this, and also that it's very dangerous what the Trump administration is doing. I don't think there's any question, to summarize what I've heard today from evangelical leaders, that this Trump administration has actually delivered a punch in the gut to the evangelical community, and it's full force punch to the gut.
David, very few people seem to be in the president's court on this issue. Why then is he going forward with this?
Money. Which a lot of people will be frustrated at. In other words, why are we spending all of this money over there? They've got enough going on. He wants to pull back. Also, philosophy. The president to his credit, to a degree, has said this from the very beginning. He doesn't want to be involved in endless wars. He believes this is one of those situations. But what's missing here is the moral component. What about those religious and ethnic minorities who will be, in essence, according to many evangelicals and others, left to slaughter if the Turks go in and invade and indeed have their way with the Kurds and others, which obviously seems to be the case,
David,
or is going to happen.
Any thoughts here that the president will be pressured to change his mind? Will he change?
Well, he'll be pressured. He's being pressured today. It would happen over the weekend. It's not going to make a hill of beans difference. It won't at this point. My sources tell me that indeed this will go forward. There's no reason to believe the president of the United States is going to change his mind here.
All right, and David, stick around. We have some more questions.
Okay, you bet.
Thanks, David. Well, the latest twist in the impeachment inquiry involves a reported second whistleblower. What makes this one unique is the claim of first-hand knowledge about President Trump's dealings with Ukraine. CBN's White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us with details of what we're learning about whistleblower number 2. Ben?
Well, John, we're learning a lot. We are hearing this as a member of the intel community. They have already met with the inspector general, although it is not clear if they plan to file a formal complaint. Either way, the president says he's not worried. President Trump pushing back on reports of a second whistleblower, tweeting, "Whistleblower was very wrong on what was said on my perfect, no-pressure call with the Ukrainian president. Bring in another whistleblower from the bench." Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham echoed her boss's comments, writing, "It doesn't matter how many people decide to call themselves whistleblowers about the same telephone call, a call the president already made public. It doesn't change the fact that he has done nothing wrong."
I never saw it. I don't think it's true.
In an exclusive interview with CBN, Energy Secretary Rick Perry says he's never heard former Vice President Joe Biden or his son Hunter come up in conversations.
I never heard, and I talked to the president about this. I've had a conversation, a phone call with Rudy Giuliani about it. I've talked to the previous ambassador. I've talked to the current ambassador. I've talked to Kurt Volker. Gordon Sondland, the EU ambassador. Every name that you've seen out in the media, and not once, as God is my witness, not once was a Biden name, not the former vice president, not his son, ever mentioned.
Other Republicans are struggling to defend Trump's actions, especially his calling on China to investigate the Bidens.
We know they're not.
China to investigate.
We know they're not, George. Come on.
Why can't you answer yes or no? Do you think it's appropriate?
I don't, because I don't think that's what he did. I don't think that's what he did.
But it was right there on camera.
Senator Susan Collins calls Trump's request completely inappropriate. Senator Mitt Romney adds it was wrong and appalling. Lawmakers are now issuing new subpoenas to the White House here behind me, while it's still not clear if House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will call an inquiry vote. House Democrats say they believe they have the 217 votes needed to pass the articles of impeachment against President Trump. John, Jenna?
All right, Ben Kennedy at the White House, thank you. Well, to Capitol Hill, lawmakers are in their districts for a 2-week recess, and many representatives like Elaine Luria of Virginia's 2nd District are holding events at home and hearing how their constituents feel about pursuing an impeachment inquiry. CBN News Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson attended Luria's town hall Thursday to see how the issue is playing with voters in that swing district. Abby?
Well, that's right. Congresswoman Elaine Luria took a big political risk when she called for an impeachment inquiry with 6 other freshman colleagues. The former Navy commander is back in her district right now and hearing from her constituents about how they feel about her bold decision.
The people who have come up to me have said, we support you. Thank you for being strong. Thank you for making a decision because it was the right decision, not because there was a political calculus.
Luria says she feels supported by her constituents and stands by her decision.
Whether it has implications on my future election prospects in 2020, I want to be able to look in the mirror and look and say that I was on the right side of history and not that this had any sort of political ramifications.
In the crowd,
Trump needs to be impeached.
Support was mixed.
You've got to have meat behind whatever you're doing. I don't know that there's enough meat behind it. I don't even care at this point.
While Denise Klein tells CBN News she personally supports the impeachment inquiry,
the Ukraine issue became such a front and center issue. I realized that this was time that we really had to do something.
She doesn't think the majority of the district agrees with her.
I have seen 3 letters lately where that people have been quite, and the letters to the editor where people were quite upset with this decision that Representative Loria made, and 2 that have been in support.
Outside the town hall, Republicans held a counter protest.
They're sitting there looking for an opportunity to try to impeach the president instead of looking for an opportunity to work for their constituents.
Calling the impeachment inquiry a fraud.
This impeachment is going nowhere. It's clearly a fraud. It's another attempt by the Democrats to undo the election of 2016.
Luria is one of about 60 vulnerable Democrats the National Republican Party is targeting with big digital ad buys in the 2020 elections.
Yeah, great reporting, Abby. We want to bring in Abby now, and also David. Abby, it seemed like in your report there, it seemed like voters there were pretty split.
Yeah, that's right, Jenna. And I want to point out this town hall took place in a church, and in the beginning, the people from the church made many announcements about there was going to be no room for outbursts or any fighting between the attendees. And the people there, I would say it was very evenly split. I spoke with people who you heard from that from the get-go, they've been gung-ho about impeaching President Trump. There were other Democrats who appreciated how Congresswoman Luria, they feel like she's been more thoughtful in her decision. She recently called for it. She didn't call for it right when she got elected. And so now they are on board with it. But then some, they say that they're worried about how this could play for the Democrat Party. I talked to people who don't know if this issue is big enough to really pursue a full impeachment inquiry, and they're actually worried that this could be bad for the Democrat Party. So it truly was all over the place.
And Abigail, it's a swing district, or David, actually, I want to take this question to you. It's a swing district. The White House, they're sending out Vice President Pence to a lot of these more questionable areas. This is their strategy.
It's their strategy. It's starting early because of all of this impeachment talk. But look, I think ultimately it's a smart move, clearly, by the White House. I believe there's 31 House districts or so, but 24 of the 31 Democrats that have won those swing House districts have actually come out in support of impeachment. So are they over their skis at this point? And that's what Mike Pence is going to go there and actually try to make the case. Look, right now it's all a battle of public opinion. Can you get those poll numbers that we're hearing so much about? Can the White House move it to their side, and Democrats trying to do the same?
David, a second whistleblower has come forward. The White House insists this changes nothing because the transcript in that call between President Trump and his Ukrainian counterpart has already been released. How does this change the impeachment investigation?
I don't see it changing anything. I mean, forget spin for a second by the White House or anything. I mean, they're right in the facts in the sense that we don't need the whistleblower report. I mean, Donald Trump's his own whistleblower, if you will. I mean, not that he's blowing the whistle on himself, but he's saying, what's the problem? I mean, it's all right out there. And even if it's not an exact transcript of the call, we do know that the second whistleblower, and as he says, bring him in from the bench, the third, the fourth, they're all in the original complaint. Those are those White House officials that the second-hand whistleblower talked to. So we know they're out there. Unless they're bringing new information with a new charge, if it's just going to be the same thing, which is the president abuses power and he pressured the Ukrainian president, well, what's new exactly? And I think that's the key here.
Abby, real quickly here, Congress has been investigating the president. They wanted his IRS tax returns. The state of New York is also going after those tax returns. It looks like he's going to have to turn over those tax returns one way or the other, maybe.
I would just say on this, it's not over till it's over. And while the federal judge did rule that President Trump needs to turn over 8 years' worth of his tax returns, one thing to point out, those might not be released to the public. And a federal appeals court has already issued a stay in that decision. So he doesn't have to turn them over yet. And as you said, House Democrats are pursuing their own investigation, suing the Treasury Department for 6 years' worth of tax returns. But President Trump's lawyers so far have been able to keep them out.
All right, Abby and David, thank you both.
Thank you.
Today marks the beginning of a new term at the Supreme Court. What that could mean for religious freedom when we come back.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
Well, the Supreme Court began its new term today.
And it starts with a wide-ranging caseload on everything from immigration to gun laws and abortion. Paul Strand reports on how this term potentially has a big impact on people of faith.
The court starts off the new term with cases that could hit religious believers hard. One involves a funeral home and a fired transgender worker. And it could have broader implications for existing civil rights law and invasion of privacy.
It involves a man named Anthony Stevens who worked at a Christian funeral home and announced to his bosses that he wanted to become Amy Stevens and start wearing dresses instead of business suits to work. He was terminated and he sued.
The owner is saying, I believe it's almost a ministry, really, in my business, reaching out to and supporting families who are grieving, and it would be a distraction from that to have someone who is a biological male wearing a dress.
Tom Rost heads up Harris Funeral Homes.
The families that we serve, how would they possibly react to this?
People may think that this case is simply about whether a business can fire someone for being transgender.
John Bursch represents the funeral homes. He says their defeat could have huge and harmful implications.
It can mean the violation of intimate privacy spaces at high schools and colleges, including showers, restrooms, and locker rooms. And it also affects the privacy spaces at shelters, women's shelters, where recently in Alaska, a man who said he was a woman demanded to sleep 3 feet away from women who had been raped and sexually abused.
As for abortion, the court has agreed to take up a Louisiana case that might have a big impact. It would force abortion doctors to have admitting privileges at local hospitals. Pro-choice types say that's too restrictive. Pro-life advocates like Alan Parker of the Justice Foundation say it could strike at the heart of legalized abortion.
The court could use that to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Pro-life advocates showed up at the court last week armed with a petition signed by 250,000 people. It asks the court to overturn Roe v. Wade, the 1973 ruling that legalized abortion. And many believe now is the best opportunity in years to tackle Roe.
There is new evidence, new scientific evidence, new facts that this court needs to consider, and that would justify overturning the precedent of Roe versus Wade.
There's about 10 or 15 cases that could be the one that overturns Roe v. Wade that are moving towards the Supreme Court.
The reason the people who are big advocates for religious liberty hope that the court will take up more of their kind of cases is because, especially with 2 Trump appointees, they feel that the justices are leaning more favorably towards people of faith. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the Supreme Court.
The fulfillment of a prophecy for Rick Perry. Next, how God's plans aren't always our own.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family and collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app, a great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Welcome back. Even though he's one of the latest Trump officials ensnared in the fallout over Ukraine, Energy Secretary Rick Perry says he's excited after witnessing what he describes as a fulfillment of a personal prophecy.
Yeah, one he wasn't sure would ever come true. Senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon explains.
Well, Mr. Secretary, you are about to realize a prophecy spoken about your life.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Fascinating story. In 2011, when I was in the process of deciding whether or not I was going to run for president, and a dear friend of mine, neurosurgeon, a great Christian brother named Dr. Charles Gordon, he said, "Hey, I had a friend who shared with me a vision of you, a prophecy about you, in the White House, in the Oval Office, with your grandson." Well, my son's married, but no children. But I knew I was planning on being the next president of the United States, so shoot, I knew how to take that, right?
But it didn't quite work out that way.
As I tell people, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
His 2012 run for the White House fizzled.
My son, in 2013, does have a child. Well, I know it's going to be a boy, right?
Of course.
Well, out came Ella Perry. It's kind of like, well, all right, you know. The time to have more children. 2015, February, second child comes. It's Piper, another little girl. And by September of 2015, I've read the tea leaves pretty well, and I'm not going to be successful in the presidential election.
Still, all along, he had remembered that prophecy.
It never shook my faith, but it was kind of like, well, you know, maybe this lady was just wrong. You know, maybe she's not a prophet.
But then on July 4th, Perry's long-awaited grandson was born. And on October 4th, the prophecy became truth.
So Griffin James Perry, his nickname's Finn, he will go into the White House, into the Oval Office with the POTUS.
We talk about God's faithfulness. When you and Finn walk into the Oval Office and meet with President Trump, that will be the fulfillment of this prophecy, but you're not walking into that office the way that you thought you were going to get there.
Correct. And your plan isn't always God's plan. And looking back on it, my plan was to be the President of the United States. Tried twice. Didn't work out that way. God has a plan. You know, just don't be frustrated. Just be faithful, and a lot of times it will turn out even better.
And someday when Finn looks back on this photo and is old enough to appreciate the gravity of the moment,
he'll go, yeah, my grandfather, he was a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
I hope.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Jennifer. The separation between church and football? When we come back, the controversy over the NFL and one player's choice of headgear.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
The NFL is fining a player thousands of dollars, not for wearing a God on his sleeve, but on his forehead. The NFL says Demario Davis violated strict league rules.
Those rules prohibit personal messages like the one on a headband he wore in a game last month, emblazoned with the words, "Man of God." Davis is vocal about his Christian faith, which he says is at the forefront of his life.
I let go and I said, God, I'm trusting you. I don't know where you're going to take me. And he's brought me closer and closer to him.
The New Orleans Saints linebacker was fined more than $7,000 for the violation. Rather than break the rules again and pay increasing NFL fines, Davis plans to market the headband, saying when fans wear it, quote, I can wear it through them. That seems like a pretty good workaround.
Yeah, you know, I bet he'll have a few takers on those headbands.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for tonight's Faith Nation.
Have a great evening.